Hi, this is Pastor Rob Wiesner of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in Belleville, and you're listening to Josh and Jeremy Davis, the Other Side Radio Show on 91X FM.
The Other Side Media Group and 91X now present The Other Side Radio Show, a program about people who make a difference from all walks of life in Quinte and beyond. And now here are your hosts, Jeremy and Joshua Davis.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Other Side Radio Easter Special. I'm Joshua Davis, and glad to be here along with Jeremy Davis and Pastor Rob Wiesner of the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Welcome to our show. It's great to have you here today. Well, it's great to be up in the sanctuary with our favorite pastor, and it's hard to believe another Easter Sunday is here. As you look back over the years of all the Easter Sundays and all the festive occasions that have been taking place in this wonderful ministry, what is it saying to you this year? And what do you remember fondly the most? Pastor Rob?
Well, Jeremy, Joshua, it's great to see you again, and to all of your listeners today, wish you a very happy Easter, and may you all be blessed with gifts of love and joy and newness of life, new beginnings, new opportunities. Jer, my gosh, it's been 15 years since I've been here, started here, and there's been a number of amazing events and services and programs and events that have happened here at this church and in our community at large. Easter time, Holy Week, Easter time has always been one of my favorite times of the church year because of the depth of, the meaning and significance of days like Maundy Thursday and Good Friday, and of course Easter Sunday. It's just a wonderful opportunity to, have a fresh start, have a bit of a new beginning, be a little forgiving of ourselves and of one another, and, not be so hard on ourselves, and what I love about Easter and many of the other religious holidays that we celebrate is, it's okay to be normally human. You know what I mean? We all make mistakes. We all live life. Things happen. We all experience moments of darkness and moments of death in different forms, and Easter is one of those holy days that reminds us that things like that don't always have the final word, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's not a train coming at you. And, it's a chance to celebrate life and love and peace and joy.
Now, Pastor Rob, one of my fondest memories in our family is when you did so many great things for our family, and that is when you were presiding over my sister's wedding and Tony's wedding, Melissa and Tony. And it was just a thrilling experience. We had a great time, and the love and laughter was there, and some funny moments too. And can you just share some of those memories for our listeners that may not know?
Well, yeah, Melissa and Tony's wedding day was a memorable day, and I really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful experience, and yes, we had a couple of laughs. There was a couple of slips of the tongue by accident, and yeah, you had to be there to get the joke. But yeah, you know, for me as a pastor, you know, the great highlights of my ministry, and I would imagine any pastor's ministry, is those moments when you can be together with people in their moments of celebration and joy. You know, I know it sounds weird for some people, but even in their moments of great sorrow and loss and grief, you know, being with people in those times is really amazing.
Like with her step-grandfather's funeral, Paul and Lorraine.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, obviously, we often think of like things like baptisms and weddings, you know, being great celebrations and all of that. And absolutely, you know, they are very wonderful experiences, and each one is unique, and each person and couple is unique. And that's what makes it so, you know, beautifully special. At the same time, when we experience loss, you know, and the death of a person we know or love, you know, more often than not these days, it's a little bit more a celebration of life, because more often than not, a lot of the funerals that I've done have been for those who have lived a long life. But in those moments where it's a young child or a younger person, you know, it's really hard to be in such deep grief and loss and sorrow. But it's a great honor and a great privilege to be with people in those moments of their life when they need someone and they need that help and that guidance and that spiritual direction.
Our family loves you and just adore you for what you try and convey, and your convictions and your humbleness. You are just a great person, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, that's very sweet. Josh, the check is in the mail.
Yes, how do I follow that? And no, I didn't pay him to say that, or we didn't, but we sincerely mean it. You've been a great inspiration, and you remain to be a great inspiration and friend, and you've also, yes, and you guys have inspired us, or me, if I can say me first, because I don't want to speak for Josh, but to follow a new path and follow a new dream. You know, we were talking before we hit the air today, you know, and I got thinking, isn't Easter a wonderful example and a representation? I don't want to, I'll use representation. I think that's the proper word. And an example for us to understand and show that sometimes the road of life does not always, often it doesn't always turn out as you've planned or hoped or perhaps even dreamed, and again, in no shape or form am I comparing myself to this, but when we look at the stories in the Bible, what we believe as Christians, you know, that road leading in during Holy Week, you know, Jesus would not have expected what was about to happen. And that turn in the road, and that betrayal. And yet, out of that darkness, out of that, you know, sacred moment, out of that despair, came the beautiful gift of resurrection living and a new way of being. And so, maybe you just want to comment on that and tell us, in your experience, if you understand that, and if that's a good way to approach it in that regard for everyday life?
Yeah, very well said, Jeremy. And a great question. Absolutely. Life, as we are all aware, life often throws a curveball, and, things happen in our lives. We get a new job. We are dealing with a death of a loved one, or we are awaiting news for a diagnosis, or we are dealing with depression and anxiety, or we are wrestling with addiction, or whatever it is. To tie it in with what we're going to be doing this week with Holy Week, Maundy Thursday, we all get together, we celebrate, we will share in communion, we will have the washing of hands. It'll be a little bit more celebratory, right? And that's how we all often go through our life. We're not expecting anything. We hope for the best, but then all of a sudden, like you say, in the story of Jesus last week, there is that really dramatic, drastic turn of events that in many ways, looking at it historically, he probably was not expecting. But that's like many of us, and I know it's a harsh metaphor, but if we want to celebrate the resurrection and celebrate newness of life and new beginnings and new opportunities of Easter Sunday, you can't just skip over Good Friday. We have to go through the difficulty and the tragedy and the hardness of and the finality of a Good Friday. And I believe it's a powerful metaphor for human life. In our society, we have such high expectations of instant gratification, and we need everything now. And, there's all of this stuff that goes with that. But we're not very good. We are a death-phobic society. We want to live forever, and we want to live as though we're never going to die. And we're all terrified of death and talking about it. And it's really, really sad because it makes us death illiterate, right? But, we all experience those moments in life where it feels like we are, and again, it's a weird metaphor, but that we are on the cross, or that we're in a tomb, or we are living in a life of death and darkness. And the beauty of resurrection, of Easter, is that it shows us, from a Christian point of view at least, that no, these things don't have the final word and they don't have the ultimate power over our lives. And we can get back to living a life of hope and joy and meaning and value and integrity, because we have that example all around us, especially in the spring, and that's why Easter is celebrated in the spring, because we see physical signs of new life all around us as a reminder that, winter and death and darkness doesn't have the final word.
Absolutely. And so through every hardship, through every turn in the road, we have to keep believing that we have an opportunity each day, no matter what we are facing. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you alluded to it briefly, and I don't mind. In a general sense, yes, after so much all of us have been through, and when I say all of us, I mean this community, this world, through the pandemic, and then afterwards, that's a little bit in the rear view mirror now, sort of speaking. But and then, of course, personally with my father and his cancer diagnosis, and now I'm waiting. I've got to go for more tests. They want to determine what's going on with me, and it could be cancer. But it doesn't mean it is. And whatever I'm dealing with, or whatever we're dealing with, we can beat it if we have the right attitude and the right approach, or we can at least have a better quality of life as long as we can and contribute to society. It doesn't have the final word. So that's why I wanted to share that very personal antidote.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. And, my goodness, the things that your family has gone through in the last little while is quite intense and quite immense. And, I'm always amazed at how, You all are so positive and continue to do all the good things that you do for the community and for one another. You guys love each other so much, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. And like you say, every one of us has something, that we are dealing with. In one of the prayers a couple weeks ago that we heard here at our church, I talked about how we put on a brave face and we put on a happy face, and deep down inside is a cupboard within us that's filled with skeletons that, are secret kind of shames and hurts and all of those different things. And, we do everything in our power to keep that cupboard closed, right? Because we don't want anybody to see that about us. And yet we all have something like that going on in our lives and within us. And if we only just, in our moments of kind of calm and quiet and kind of peacefulness, let those doors open and let those things out, then we can work together to help heal one another and to help each other, live happier lives instead of keeping things locked up tight inside, right? And that's, again, what Easter is all about, is just letting the things of death go and living life fully.
Now, Rob, what I want to get to is this. In your opinion, what would life have been like if the thought of Good Friday never happened?
Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. And I know many people over the last couple thousand years have asked, why Good Friday? Was Good Friday necessary? Why did Jesus have to die? And what would the world be like if it never happened? And, quite honestly and quite simply, the world would just continue to go on as it always had, and I think that would be a great loss, and every religion has one of those moments within it, not like Easter, and not in the same way, but there is something powerfully transformative that each religion has that helps its people and its followers, move beyond the negative and the bad. Yeah, exactly.
New hope and new life.
That's right. And so for us, in Christian faith, Good Friday, I always, as a kid, was like, why do we call it good? The Romans executed this Jesus, brutally and violently. How in the world could that be good? But we call it good because of what happens on Easter, and it's
the people had a choice, and Pontius Pilate said, I don't want to do this. Can you elaborate on that for our listeners?
Absolutely. This is what my sermon is going to be about on Good Friday, actually. That's a great allusion there, Josh. So in the Gospels, there is what I would call a parable about Jesus being tried by Pontius Pilate. Anyway, so what Pontius Pilate does in the Gospels is he parades two different guys in front of the people in Jerusalem in that year of 30 of the Common Era. Yes. One guy is named Barabbas and the other one is Jesus of Nazareth. And what you come to understand and appreciate when you understand a little bit of the historical context behind some of these things is that the name Barabbas is actually like a moniker. Bar means son of, and Abba is father. So again, it's portraying two different versions of the son of the father. Yeah. Barabbas is on trial and up for execution by crucifixion for leading a violent insurrection and murdering Roman soldiers. But Jesus is there because he was there non-violently, yes. Right?
And he was a peacemaker.
That's right, he's a peacemaker. And so Pontius Pilate gives the people the choice. You either can free a violent insurrectionist, a violent murderer, or you can have a non-violent, peaceful person. And it's, for me, this is not a moment of actual history. This is a very powerful parable about where the Jewish people were in the first century historically. They were given the choice of dealing with the Roman Empire either through violence or non-violence. And this parable tells us that they chose the wrong way to deal with imperial power. They chose Barabbas over Jesus. And what happens is they had a 6-7 year war. Their city of Jerusalem was burned to the ground. The temple was burned to the ground. And Judaism was almost wiped off the face of the earth had it not been for their sacred texts. And that's the power of Good Friday. What would have happened if nothing had happened? Well, the world would have continued on as it has. We still don't fully comprehend the power of Good Friday, right? We don't make the most of that opportunity. But thank goodness we do have an example, and again, every religion has something within it that's similar to this, that, we can step back from the brink of self-annihilation and total violence, in our world by being people of peace and nonviolence and being a better example of, things like love and friendship and building bridges and connections with one another in peaceful ways.
Now, do you believe that is sometimes challenging in the 21st century to be so loving and giving to one another because of attitudes of despair and sometimes depression and isolation from maybe things like the pandemic or not?
Well, sure. We've been hit with a lot of things in the last 3.5 years. There's the pandemic, then there's the invasion of Ukraine, then there's all the stuff that deals with recession and, economic and political, megalomania down in the U.S. and here in Canada and all sorts of things going on all over the world. You were inundated with negativity and things that would cause us great despair and to lose our hope. And, I think we have to remember that that's what it has always been like. There has always been people who take advantage or try to feed on people's fears and anxieties. Look at all the other things. Violence that's based on race, the George Floyd is an example, a tragedy, just a horrible tragedy. The killings in different places in the U.S. and in Canada, in Nova Scotia, but
will we ever rise above the violence and the hatred?
Well, I don't know. That's the $64,000 question. Really? Is can human beings overcome their addiction to, systemic violence or the need to have violence to solve the problems of violence in the world?
We're quickly running out of time. We need a longer show. We'll have you back. I want to say very quickly, Josh also wants to do a poem, but we should mention briefly that you made an announcement recently, we'll put it that way, that you have accepted a call at another church. So unfortunately, we will be losing you here at Holy Trinity, but your legacy and your great teaching and your ministry will live on in the hearts and minds of so many. And you're not leaving right now, but we just want to encourage everyone. Please, this is a place where everyone is welcome. Come out, join us for anything on Holy Week and beyond. We're at 516 Victoria Avenue, and this pastor really rocks the pulpit every week. I mean that in a good way, Pastor. Okay. Well, I just put it that way for the youngsters. So you want to comment on that, and then we'll go from there and get to Josh's Easter poem. And we'll have you back real soon. We love you, bro.
Well, thanks, guys. You guys over-flatter me and, hilarious. I've seen some sleeping people in the back pews, Yeah. No, to anybody that's listening today on Easter, you are welcome here at any time, and please come and check us out, or any of the other churches in the area. It's you don't have to come here to find hope and things. You need to find it wherever you can. But the doors of Holy Trinity are open. Yes, I've accepted a call to a new congregation just outside of Stratford, And after 15 years of being in the Belleville area, it was a very, very hard and difficult decision to make, but it was a necessary decision for us and for my family and for even for this congregation here in Belleville. So, I just want to say thank you to everybody for the incredibly warm welcome we've received here, not only at the church, but in our community. This is a part of my life that I am going to be incredibly thankful for, and I'm going to miss so much about being the pastor here and being involved in many things in our community, just so much. But, it's just a we'll see you later, kind of thing.
Nice Oktoberfest.
Yeah, there was a lot that we did here over the last 15 years together.
Christmas pageants and
So, I'm not leaving till the end of June, early July, and I hope to be back on the show again and maybe to meet some of your listeners while I'm still here, it's not goodbye forever, and we'll be back in Belleville. We'll be back to visit, yeah. So, thank you.
Before I put Josh on, I just want to say, and we have no intention of competing against your magnificent abilities, but you've inspired me. Maybe someday Josh and I will go into the ministry together. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. And now, before we're out of time, Josh has a wonderful Words of Hope moment for this Easter Sunday. May God bless you all. Love and prayers to our friends and family and your family, Pastor Rob. And take it away. Happy Easter, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It was great to be here again, and wishing all of you who are listening today a blessed Easter. And don't lose hope, and always look for the positive and the life-giving in all things. All right, Josh, take it away.
Well, thank you, Pastor Rob. And it's a real honor to get together with you, have insightful conversations. You mean the world to us, and so does your family. So, as Pastor Rob says, look for the bright light at the end of the tunnel. And it's hope and optimism that pushes us forward. So God bless everyone. God bless our family and friends. And we love you from the bottom of our hearts. I love my family to pieces, and together we'll get through anything. We'll move mountains. And that goes for everyone out there. Thank you very much. This poem I would like to do for this Easter Sunday is Silent Friday. There was a time when the land fell silent. There was a time when the land was dark, but only He could see the light. There was a time when our Lord and Savior was crucified on the cross for you and me to somehow fulfill His prophecy. There was a time when He grew weak and weary, or maybe, just maybe, that was the people's theory. There was a time when He was thrown into a tomb. Bless His body, broken, He is doomed. But something happened that faithful night. He grew strong again and didn't give up the fight, beckoning the world with His gracious light. Silent Friday. May God bless you. May the road rise before you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine high upon your face. May the rain pour softly on your fields until we meet again. May God bless you and hold you in the palm of His hand. I love you all. Peace. Happy Easter. And we will see you next week. Happy Easter. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
The Other Side Radio Show is a production of the Other Side Media Group in association with 91X. You can connect on Facebook at the Other Side Media Group, Instagram at Jeremy Tyler Davis, or on YouTube at Jeremy T. Davis, Belleville, Ontario for on-demand episodes and more. Tune in next week for another episode of the Other Side Radio Show.